I'm here with Ed Redmond. He's a general sales manager here at Herndon Chevrolet. Ed, thanks for taking time to sit down with me.
Thank you.
The sales side of the house is a beneficiary of the ELEAD1ONE Service Retention Suite. Before we go into specifics on how the variable ops side is benefiting, let's talk about your previous technology. When you look back at what you used to do to engage with your existing customers and what you have today, give me two things that have dramatically changed to help you do your job better.
The two things that I can think of right off the top of my head are, number one, we did not have the visibility when a service customer was in for our salespeople to know that their customers were here. Didn't have the ability to follow up, didn't even have the ability to come down and say hi. So with that made a big difference as far as them being able to interact with the customers. They also, from a standpoint of being able to follow up with customers in any volume at all, was difficult. We could only send out leads to maybe 25 customers at a time, where you may have 1,500 customers that need to find out the same information at once. And it's a lot easier to be able to send that information out all at one time than having to do out in little increments and spend days basically doing what should take just a few minutes that you can do with ELEAD.
That's great. And so let's talk about this changing automotive retail experience. Consumers are expecting you to know what they've done in service in the past, what vehicles they've purchased. In your old system, when maybe a deal was tight, you wouldn't be able to see all of their service history, their lifetime value, or vice versa, not seeing declined service orders, you couldn't maybe call those people up, offer them to get into a new car at the same or lower payment. From your perspective, what has this unified database, a single customer record, done to allow you to do your job better?
Well, a couple of things that really impact quickly. One of the things is when you do have customers in the service lane that have equity or should be in an equity position, it alerts us. So we can go down there and talk to them about trading. That's the one that's kind of the low-hanging fruit.
So we're turning the service drive into a sales extension.
Right.
And normally those deals, from my experience, have, a better gross and a higher CSI.
Well, they do, and because you already have a relationship with the customer, and that's really the big thing. If they're doing their service work here, you have a good relationship with them.
That's right.
Because they're coming back to you. A few of the other things that it allows you to be able to do, if you're trying to put a deal together and you see that a customer has done a lot of business here, you're able to stretch,
right.
And say, hey, maybe we need to do a little bit more to put this together. And the same thing with service. If service has the ability to see, they get all their service work done here. They buy all their cars here. They're not necessarily that they wouldn't help every customer, but you tend to do a little bit extra when you know that somebody's a good repeat customer.
That's right, and that they're active. I mean, one of the problems that when sales and service are disconnected, we can never see our most loyal customers' patronage in one single
right.
view.
It's about lifetime value, and that's the
right.
big thing. And when you're appraising a car, even, you can look and go, man, they've had this car in here and done all kinds of service work on it and everything. So hey, they've gotten everything done that they should be getting done. And in fact, maybe some stuff that even may be elective to really take good care of their car. And at that point, from a trade standpoint, you can stretch more. You can do a lot of different things to try to put something together to help the customer out.
And I want to talk about this lifetime value conversation because, Ed, I'm really glad you brought it up because it's how other businesses look at their customer data. I don't hear too many auto dealers focusing on that. But one of the weaknesses at every dealership is they're busy. They're not making the phone calls to their customers as often as they should. You mentioned you're using some campaign strategies from the world-class ELEAD1ONE call center. Give me a little feedback. What type of calls has ELEAD been able to make and partner with your sales team?
Gold digger is probably the biggest one. Customers that are in equity positions, it allows us to be able to follow up with them directly and immediately. And we know every morning when we come in, hey, these customers should be here today. They should be in an equity position. These are people that you should be able to call on. The other thing that it's been able to do from that standpoint is to be able to follow up properly with customers as far as letting them know when we have changes of incentives. We've got big programs, model year closeouts, whatever the case may be, to try to help them get into something newer, less miles, kind of the whole thing from that standpoint. And the other thing that really impacts too is it allows us to be able to know what's going on with the customer. If we make proper notes in the system and do things like that, it really wows them, because you may have a salesperson that's sick one day, the customer comes in to get work done on the vehicle. If we've got notes in there, we all look like we know what we're talking about because we do. The notes are in there, and it allows us to be able to wow the customer at that point.
And let's talk about that. It's so simple, but yet in many dealerships, their customer engagement strategy is 4, 5, 6 different pieces of software. You're absolutely right. I'm a salesperson, and maybe I promised them a bedliner, but the bedliner wasn't in.
Right.
And now that customer doesn't walk into the service drive, parks, comes in, I'm out for the day, on holiday, or it's my day off. To be able to pull up that customer record, see that commitment, walk them over to the service drive, they see the same note. How does that, in a practical way, create a better relationship with your customers?
Well, from practicality, they're supposed to bring the WIO back. We give them a piece of paper that says this is what we're going to do, but the odds of them actually remembering to bring that back are negligible. We do take one down to service for them to open an RO. And again, that helps because now that, again, once the RO is open, there's some visibility there for the folks down there. But again, you got 5 service writers down there. Which service writer did they go see and things like that? So the better the notes that are in the system, obviously the better experience it is for the customer. But it's a lot easier to know, okay, the customer's coming in to get a bed liner installed and it was worked into the deal, so they're not paying for it, versus asking the customer who's paying for it and them going, well, you should know, you guys are the one that sold
That's right,
car.
and make them feel that they're really not appreciated.
Right.
Let's talk about one other thing, because for other sales managers, desk managers, general managers watching today's video, I want to talk about the ease in which that whole deal jacket can be printed and executed through ELEAD. Let's take the service drive example. Customer comes in, they're in an equity position. You're able to present them with an offer. They love the offer. How quickly does this integrated customer retention suite help you to get that deal paperwork printed, executed, then burning gas?
Really, the integration aspect of it's really the key, because they don't have to be a previous sales customer. They can just be a previous sales or service customer.
That's right.
Literally, they can come in, Fred Jones comes in, we put in Fred Jones' phone number, it matches the customer. Now I already have his address, I already have his phone number, I already have his email address. If he's financing the vehicle, I get a few key pieces of information for that. It's automated to be able to get the approval sent over and everything. And then literally it takes 60 seconds to print the paperwork out, get them to sign the paperwork in with the business manager. I mean, theoretically, you could be in and out in an hour without any trouble at all. And that's everything. That's that's getting the car cleaned up and getting everything ready to go. So it really streamlines the process, and it also eliminates possible duplicates because it really cleans everything up for you. When you've got one customer contact, you don't have to send them 10 different emails or 10 different phone calls or whatever, because the customer's put in there 10 different times. Now with one place to go for each piece of customer information, it's a lot more professional, because now the customer goes, hey, they know me, they get me, they know what's going on.
And what's exciting is that ELEAD's integrated with the latest credit pull technologies. We call them soft pulls or pre-qual. The fact that in the service drive, without requesting a date of birth or social security number, we already can know the credit worthiness of individuals who want to take advantage of a firm offer to upgrade their vehicle. And again, without having all of that paperwork in the way of a deal getting done, it has to just reduce the time that it takes for someone to buy a car here at Herndon Chevrolet.
It does, it eliminates mistakes, because the one thing that we always used to run into before we used this type of system was handwriting.
Right.
Ultimately, if you're filling something in by hand, you can read one thing one way and somebody else reads it another. When it's in the system, it's pre-populated, and you're just having to verify information. It's a lot easier to have accurate information for the customer.
One other thing, in this service drive, when we were talking with the service director and the service advisors, they commented that the tablets really changed the positioning of them with the customer, meaning side by side, they could walk the car. The customer is seeing the information being input on the tablet. Tell me a little bit on the sales side of the business. How has a unified data platform, a single customer record, and a tablet-based system changed the way customers perceive the sales transaction?
From that standpoint, obviously from an efficiency standpoint in the service department, it's much more efficient. And the good thing is it creates an interaction between the service consultant and the customer. Same thing with the sales department. We've actually got that integrated, and a lot of folks that use smart devices will scan VIN numbers, and it'll go directly into ELEAD, scanning the VIN number, and then they just have to type the miles in, and they can interact with the customer as they're walking around. The customer can say, "Oh yeah, by the way, a shopping cart hit the car back there." Or,
right. So when they're doing a vehicle inspection, they could use their mobile device with the ELEAD mobile app, scan the VIN, the whole trade pulls up because you do the VIN explosion,
right,
and then they can put the condition details.
Exactly, and we get back into the whole handwriting thing. I don't have to worry about a VIN number being incorrect, or or miles being incorrect, or things like that. They can go ahead and get it put in properly.
And can you remember any feedback from a customer? The fact that they're greeted by their salesperson, maybe they talked on the phone, they walk out to the customer's car, he opens the door, scans the VIN, pulls up all the information, and in seconds is able to put in the condition report, show them a trade value for their vehicle. What are customers saying when they see this in action?
Well, it's funny because sometimes it used to be there was a resistance. I just kind of want to know what it's worth,
right.
And then once they see when you can just scan it, you can put it in quickly, and give them accurate figures. And a lot of times that's what we convey to the customer. I can guess, but wouldn't you really rather have accurate information?
That's right.
And when they see it's not this long process to be able to do it. It's actually very quick. Once we get the few pieces of information we need, it becomes a very quick process to be able to give them accurate information so they can make a decision if they want to trade, get in a different vehicle or whatever, or if they want to do the service work that's being required on their vehicle down in service to keep it in top condition.
One practical question. There's other sales managers watching today's video saying, well, I know our CRM is outdated. I know it's clunky. We do not have this single customer record, but it's such a pain to learn new things. How was it for you and the other members of your sales team to really embrace and utilize the technology that ELEAD1 is bringing to market?
It was very easy. The system we had before, we had for years, and nobody could use it. In fact, the company that we got it through would come in and try to show us how to use it, and it still wouldn't work because they couldn't figure out how to use it. So ELEAD, if you can use any Windows-based program,
right,
you can use ELEAD. If you can't use it, probably the industry's passed you by at that point. But it's very, very easy to use. Anybody that can use a cell phone, use a tablet, use a personal computer, and just fill in little pieces of information. We've got folks from I've got salespeople that range from 20 years old to 80 years old, and every one of them can use it. So it's very, very easy to use.
That's encouraging, Ed. So Ed, recapping our conversation. You've told me that having a unified customer record allows sales and service to have more active dialogue, make the customer feel appreciated on either side because we can see their lifetime value, we can see all their transactions, we can offer customers in equity a painless and frictionless upgrade to a new vehicle, print their whole deal jacket in a minute. And you've also talked about this idea of when customers come in for the first time, simplifying the trade-in process, eliminating handwriting mistakes, typos, and miscommunications. With all of that in mind, for your peers, people who are on the front lines, who are thinking about purchasing a new CRM, on top of all those things, what would be one thing you would tell them that would, motivate them to pick up the phone and schedule a demo with ELEAD1?
I would just say the integration aspect of it is really the key and the ease of use. The one thing that everybody is hesitant about is the training time, the downtime trying to learn new stuff.
Right.
And that's not one of the issues with ELEAD. The one thing with ELEAD as well is the flexibility of it. You can do kind of as much or as little as you feel like you need to. You can work into the system to where you can ease into it. You can do one aspect and then develop
right.
the other aspect to be able to do it. And then they have involvement through calls and things that they can do as well. So it's just the overall flexibility, and you can do as much or as little as you want type thing is really, to me, where the benefit lies with ELEAD. But again, getting back to the easy use, it is the easiest one that I've been exposed to, and it does work very, very well.
Great. Ed, thanks so much for sitting down with me and sharing your experience from the sales side on how ELEAD1 Service Retention Suite has innovated, the experience for customers who come in for the first time, for existing customers. I wish you and your team great success in the year ahead.
Thank you.